Have you ever had negative thoughts in your mind that you aren't good enough, that you'll never be successful? If so, you're not alone. I've had those thoughts playing in my mind ever since I took the leap to become an entrepreneur. It's a dirty, dark secret that no one likes to talk about, as the glamorization of becoming an entrepreneur is shown in the media. I realized that in order to succeed, I needed help. We all do. So I decided to go all in on myself, spending thousands of hours in the trenches, reading, joining groups, listening to podcasts, hiring coaches to develop a bulletproof morning routine for success. Join me on my journey as together we build our morning fire to ignite our lives as entrepreneurs. My name is Jeff Wickersham, and this is the Morning Fire for Entrepreneurs podcast. Welcome to the Morning Fire for Entrepreneurs podcast. I am extremely excited to have Michelle Lee Myrter on the show. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Oh, Jeff, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. So we're going to up that excitement level a little bit. So I always love getting into state when we get into these amazing conversations. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 3 power breaths first. So I define it as a power breath in through the belly, chest, and then we'll raise our hands above our head. So let's go ahead and breathe in and out. Good. Another breath in and out. Final breath in and out. All right, now I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1, and we're going to yell boom at the top of our lungs to get the energy up in 3, 2, 1, and boom.
Boom.
There you go. I appreciate you playing along, Michelle. So I eat, sleep, and breathe. Morning habits, rituals, routines. I feel like they are so vital to what we do day in and day out. So what are a couple of things you do right when you wake up that set you down that path towards success?
Before I even put my feet on the ground, I thank God for another beautiful day. And I say the things that I'm grateful for. Then I get my coffee, I go down, I meditate, I pray, and then I get all my tension out by boxing or working out really hard.
Love it. And I love the process of going through and praying right away, being grateful for another opportunity. And I feel like that's so amazing when you go through that process. I do something very similar where I go turn off my alarm and I kind of pray right there on the floor, right as I wake up and being in a state of gratitude, being grateful for another opportunity we get. That's so powerful. Love the boxing. Obviously saw my intro clip. I mean, I love hitting a heavy bag in boxing. There's something just that punching, getting it out of you. It's so amazingly powerful when you go and hit the heavy bag and go through boxing for sure.
Absolutely. I love it. I started boxing. I went to a friend's gym and it just fell in love with it.
That's awesome. So let's start. I know we're going to get into, increasing sales authentically and really knowing people, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about your background. I know 2015 was kind of a rougher time for you. So if you want to start there and then kind of catch us up to where you're at now, then we'll get into a couple topics.
Wow, I could keep you here all day with my journey. It has been a challenge from start to finish. And I'm going to take you a little further back just to give you a little background. Okay. But I grew up in a very narcissistic family. So my mindset and my self-worth was very low. And I attracted all of the wrong people. I ended up getting married actually twice. One wasn't very long. The second, same type of relationship. The second one, I had 2 beautiful children, but the relationship was very, very abusive. And I had no self-esteem whatsoever by that point. Shortly after my divorce, the father of my kids actually committed suicide.
Wow.
So that started a whole nother development, right? And then in a few years later, 2015, I lose my job. I'm the only income. I have 2 small kids at that point. I think they were oh gosh, I'm terrible with time and age, but they were probably 10 and 12 maybe.
Okay.
But at that point, I had to literally start over from nothing. I called an auction guy in. We sold everything that we didn't use. And for like the longest time with my friends, it was this running joke. They were like, "Hey, Michelle, do you have that thing?" And I was like, "Auction guy." But that's how I dealt with things, was making a joke out of it, right? Like, okay, no big deal. Yep, sorry, you don't know what you need until it's gone.
Right.
And at that point, I hadn't gotten paid for over a year with some situations that happened. I could take you into a whole depth of just darkness. And the people I worked with they lost their jobs too.
Okay.
So I went on a wing and a prayer and said, you know what? I'm going to save them, right? There's nowhere else for them to go. They'll never make the money they were making. They had been there for 15, 20 plus years. So I find a building, didn't know where it was, didn't even have the address, just knew the area it was in. I picked up my friend. I said, I found a building. She goes, where is it? I said, I have no idea. I think I know. And we're driving down this road, and I said, that's the building. One thing led to another, and it all came together, and I started a company for them. It wasn't what I wanted to do.
Okay.
But it was there for a reason, and the journey was there for a reason, and they all have their jobs, and everything is the way it's supposed to be. But
wow. What a story related to even, prior to losing your job, right? The relationships, and then all of a sudden being the main breadwinner, losing your job, and then going through the auction process, and quite honestly, what I hear is back against the wall, right? No option but to move through that process. How did you get your mojo back? How did you get that confidence? Obviously, growing up in that type of household, and then it perpetuating itself in relationships that you had later in life. What was the process behind your growth and digging out of that black hole?
It's funny how the world works. It's funny. God has your back. It has a plan bigger than you are and could ever exist, right? If you believe in God or the universe or whatever you believe in. I believe in God, and he had a bigger plan for me and took me on these journeys of things that I didn't exactly know why they were happening or what I was supposed to get out of it. In my process, in my journey, I ended up getting involved in direct sales by accident.
Okay.
And I didn't know what I had signed up for, but what I had signed up for was self-development that I didn't know even what it was. And I met some really amazing people, and the people that I met helped me get through that journey. They built me up. I poured into all the self-development books and all of the things, and really opened my eyes up to a whole nother world. And in that process is how I actually ended up getting to where I am now, because I went to a conference and met Sherry Tree, who I do coaching with, well, with the company now, but that's how I ended up there. And it was just a journey of just things that sometimes you get gifts in life. They don't look like gifts right away, and they're not wrapped in the package that you want. But once you go through that journey and you accept what's happening, things end up falling into place when you don't fight the process, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And falling into direct sales by accident, having people help you along the way, understanding and starting to get into personal development, that's such a process and a never ending journey. And once you get there, I'm in that same place as well. It's just an amazing spot to be, because you're constantly curious, you're constantly learning, adapting, growing. And when you see that progress, that's where the happiness lies, right? And it's so vital to the process. So I know we want to get into increasing sales authentically, understanding people in line with Cherry and the work you do for her. So explain that a little bit. I'd love to unpack it and really get into some details as well.
Absolutely. So when I met her, it was at a conference, and she completely blew me away because everything made sense in my life. And what it comes down to is it's all about people. we by default show up the way that we show up in our personalities, thinking that everyone matches what we think and they need the same information that we do. But that's not the case. And so once I saw her speak and understood my own code, because I had lost the person I was.
Okay.
And this system is so simple, but so powerful because it gives you the ability to truly understand people. So B.A.N.K is an acronym for the 4 personality types. There's the blueprint. They're inside the box. They need structure and stability and systems and planning, right? They don't like surprises. They hate risk. Your action people, they blew up the box. They're shrapnel laying all over the place. They want opportunities and freedom. They're your movers, your shakers, your millionaire makers.
Right.
Completely polar opposite than that blueprint. And then you have your nurturing types. They recycled the box. They put a gift inside, wrapped it up, baked a pie, gave it away. They don't want to sell anything. They just want to have friends and community and make the world a better place. And then you have your knowledge. They're like, listen, without me, you don't even have a box. I engineered it. And they need the science and the data and the research and all of the information to process. And it takes them, they have to make that decision on their own.
Gotcha.
But when you look at all of these, there's 24 different ways that those codes can show up. And personality science isn't new. But what Sherry Tree did was she reverse engineered it and she took it out even further. So she took all the other assessments and put them on steroids, because now people aren't just in one specific category. They actually have all 4 codes in them. And they can flow between them and they can show up differently. Like you may say, okay, I know Michelle's code. I know how she's going to show up. But depending on what happened before I got on this call, I may show up differently.
Gotcha.
In which case I would need different information to process. One of the biggest things is that when you take it and say, you know what, it doesn't matter how I see things. It's not about me. It's about the people that are in front of me. How do they see them? Instead of looking, and one of my friends had used this analogy and said, if you're at the beach and you're looking out in the ocean and you're standing next to somebody and they say, oh my gosh, I saw a dolphin. Instead of saying, what dolphin? I didn't see a dolphin. What are you talking about? Just look out into the ocean with them and say, what do you see? Tell me what you see. It will take your relationships and your business to an entirely new level. So my oldest child, for 18 years, I did it completely wrong. I thought I knew them. I thought I knew every single thing about them. And here, the way I was showing up stressed them out every single day of their life.
Wow.
If I can do it wrong for 18 years, how can you go into a relationship in business with people and only get to see a small glimpse of them and think that you know what they need?
Yeah, it's so true. And I read the book and it was very eye-opening for me related to how I present in my coaching business to other clients, because I have in the past one presentation and taking into each one of those personality types and that they can have other pieces that, right, their second strongest code or personality type is right behind that, and understanding that you've got to be fluid, you've got to be agile, and you've got to truly hear what they're saying and then craft and tailor a presentation, a delivery, a conversation around those pieces. It was definitely eye-opening to hear from that different approach. So as we're unpacking this, what are some things, what are 2 or 3 things that people can do? Obviously they could grab the book and learn, but when you're thinking about having interaction with a prospect, what are a couple things you can do off the top of your head that would have a great impact in crafting a message, a story, or a delivery of a product or service that would hit the mark more for those individuals?
So 1, don't go into the conversation assuming people are just like you.
Okay.
Biggest takeaway. Listen to what they need and what words are they using. If they are full of energy, like they just drank a Red Bull, don't flood them with details. Give them bullet points, get to the point. If they are all loving and asking about your family and telling you stories, they're obviously high nurturing. So build that relationship, connect with them. Don't be aggressive. If they are more laid back and colder to approach, then they could be a blueprint or a knowledge type.
Gotcha.
And those people are going to have to be treated differently. One thing with blueprints, always show up on time. If you're late, forget it. You just blew the deal.
Right.
Right? So you just got to really pay attention to who's in front of you and how you can serve them and how you can help them. People take all these sales trainings and they're selling based on that person's perspective, right? And they're not taking into consideration that it's not about numbers. It's not about your sales techniques. It's not about any of those things. The foundation is people. So truly connect with those people and understand where they're coming from. You might not agree, but try looking at a different perspective.
No, I love that. And as you were going through that scenario and saying, don't assume people are just like you, all of a sudden the light bulb went off in my head because I'm in action. That's hard driving, right? Give me a mission, I'm attacking it. And looking back to the clients that I've brought on, they have been predominantly action as well because they're matching my energy and I'm all about that. But now I am going to, after this podcast, really think about, okay, when I have the others, I need to approach it in a different way. It doesn't need to be full bore Jeff energy going through. It needs to be a different approach. So I truly appreciate that. And it totally made sense, as you say, don't assume everyone is just like you. And the fact that many are just like me because I'm presenting in that manner and I'm missing the mark, most likely on the others because they have that different, personality type.
Absolutely. And keep in mind those, depending on where the rest of their code is, they're going to show up differently. An action nurturing is going to show up way different than an action knowledge. So but you have to listen for those clues and understand. I use insurance as an example because I'm an action, first dominant code action. I go into conversations, right? And I want to buy something. So I set up these appointments because I needed to buy life insurance. I knew I needed to.
Gotcha.
They talked me out of it. They showed up in my last 2 codes, completely blew the sale 6 times. I even stopped them in the middle and I was like, hey guys, listen, this is not working for me. Gotcha. I had a guy that I wanted to get a shower put in. So the sales guy comes, he's got his briefcase and all his books and he throws them on the table. He's like, okay, this is going to take about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I said, hey, listen, I want to buy a shower. You show me this presentation. I'm not going to sit here for an hour and a half or 2 hours. Like, I know what I want. Let me pick it out. Whoever I need to tell that you gave me this presentation, I'm happy to do that. But if you can't, I need to find somebody else.
No, I love those 2 stories because it is definitely, and as you're listening or watching live, watching on the replay, just think about that in your business and your sales process and how you interact with those prospects. And if Michelle is resonating, if you're having that light bulb moment as I just did, it's incredibly powerful to get into a different perspective and truly listen and hear what they're saying and then adjust on the fly. And then you're going to be that much more successful from a sales perspective. So, building stronger relationships and understanding people, building stronger relationships. Now, unpack that for me a little bit as far as a topic. How can people build stronger relationships? What place can they come from that will actually allow them to grow stronger relationships in the future?
Non-judgment.
Okay.
So like I said, before saying, don't expect people to be just like you and interpret that information the same. When you're building those relationships, you can't judge people. Some people are going to show up colder. They don't want to be all emotional. And a high nurturing person is going to take offense to that and be like, I don't understand. Like, why are they so cold? Even gift giving. All of those things come down to the way somebody's wired. And so some people are like my one friend is a high nurturing, married to high knowledge. He bought her insoles for her shoes for Valentine's Day. She wanted chocolates and flowers, right? And so she was like, I don't understand. Once he explained to her why, she had back problems. He did all the research and found the best insoles, and that was the gift he got because it was going to help her problems. So people they're easily offended when people aren't showing up just like them. So having that high emotional intelligence is some of the things that we teach people, because the world needs to come together and stop fighting and judging people based on their past or their present or what they're wearing today. All of those things don't matter. People can connect. Anyone can connect. They just have to find that common ground. And so that's our goal, is to connect and empower humanity by giving people the tools and the training they need so that they're able to truly have great, empowering relationships with people and not judge them based on what they're assuming.
And I love the gift giving example. As you were talking through it, my wife is a high nurturer and I'm action. And I don't react particularly well sometimes to gifts and we miss each other, right? So that was just that was a great one to point out for sure, because not only does it impact business, right? It's humanity. It's in general. It's how you interact with people.
Exactly. And I always tell the story about my boyfriend, because I literally bought him a garage and had it shipped to him in New York. I'm in PA, he's in New York, right? So
okay.
I ship him this garage as a surprise. And then I'm like, oh, I should really tell him about it because it's going to be there tomorrow. And he's high nurturing blueprint. Yeah. They don't do well with large gifts or surprises. So he was like, what do you mean? How much did it cost? And I was like, it's a gift. Doesn't matter, right? And he was like, when is it coming? I said, tomorrow. He goes, I have to lay gravel. I have to build a platform to put the garage on. And I was like, oh. Luckily, his third position, his dress code is action. So he was able to jump into action and get it done. And he has a garage. But it could have been a really different outcome.
Yeah, love it. Love the story, because that just gives context to it for sure. So, Michelle, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Where can people find out more about you, as well as get access to anything you have?
So they can email me, find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, connect any way they can find me. My email is mmyrter@gmail.com, and they can actually get a free assessment. And is there any way to put a link for them to click on? Is that?
Yeah, I'll link it up in the show notes, so they'll have the ability to click on that.
Okay, and I'm offering a complimentary 30-minute session if they want to dive deeper, see what their code is, crack the codes of their family. I highly suggest it, and see how they're showing up for their prospects and customers.
Awesome. Michelle, I appreciate you being on the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited. Thanks. I appreciate it so much.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have an amazing rest of your day. Rise, fight, love, repeat. Get after it. And I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to the Morning Fire for Entrepreneurs podcast. You now have the knowledge, but without action, knowledge is useless. Choose to act. Choose to step into your greatness and unlock that hero inside of you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review so more entrepreneurs can hear this message. If you absolutely love this podcast, which I hope you do, then share it up with someone you know who might see benefit from it. Become that beacon of change, and together we can impact the world.